So good evening, everybody, and want to thank you all for being here. For those who've just arrived, welcome. I'm Alex Beloga, President and CEO of the Pennsylvania Food Merchants Association, and it's great to see you all here. Before we go any further, I want to recognize members of our Board of Directors, officers, and our Board Chair, Andrea Carnes. If you could all stand up for a brief second. And as I say every year, because it's true, our board is an incredibly dedicated group of individuals drawn from across our membership who work hard every day to improve our industry and the association. Thank you all for your commitment. Everyone in the room is a vital link in the American food supply chain, helping people feed their families and themselves. And we'll work with anyone who shares the goal and believes in that mission. Now, the nature of our business demands that we operate in the most efficient and effective ways possible. And our shared goal is to provide the best value, the most choices, and the highest level of convenience that we can to our customers. So the rules we have to follow and the conditions under which we have to do business are important. And everyone who is here in this room tonight is here because they understand that. And we at PFMA and our national partners that are here with us play a large part in that job to help ensure laws and regulations you all operate under are fit for that purpose. If they aren't, we work to change them. And if they are, we fight to protect them. 2 years ago, PFMA led the charge, along with our friends and partners in the Attorney General's office, on tackling one such law on the books that no longer fit that purpose. Pennsylvania's dated organized retail crime statute. We championed legislation to update the law to address modern theft strategies and establish a new law enforcement unit dedicated to going after that kind of methodical, for-profit retail theft that has been an increasing blight on our communities. That legislation was signed into law by Governor Shapiro and went into effect in July of 2024. Since then, the Office of Attorney General's ORC unit has waded into the fray, going after criminal gangs operating from Pittsburgh to Philadelphia, from the Maryland state line to the northern tier, and many cases well beyond. And following last November's election, we could have asked for no better champion to be elected to lead that office and serve as Pennsylvania's chief law enforcement official than Dave Sunday. General Sunday's career has been defined by leadership, integrity, and a fundamental commitment to public safety. Before statewide office, he served 7 years as the elected district attorney of the County of York. There, he led the fight against the opioid epidemic, protected seniors on the Elder Abuse Task Force, and addressed mental health challenges in the court system. His commitment to service began in the United States Navy, where he was deployed to the Persian Gulf and conducted counter-narcotics operations in the Caribbean and South America. He was, upholding the core principles of honor, commitment, and courage in that position. So we're honored here tonight to have our friend and partner, Attorney General Dave Sunday, with us. Attorney General.
Thank you, Alex. I appreciate it tremendously. It is an absolute honor to be here with everyone. And I have to tell you that earlier today, when I spoke, my wife was there, and it was in her professional capacity as an attorney at the event that we were at. And so it was a little stressful, so I feel a lot better right now. I just want to put that out there. So I thought that because there's a lot of people that I have not met here before, that I would take a moment and just kind of explain, who I am and why I ran for Attorney General and some of my priorities, and then tie it into some other things I'd like to talk about. So if that's okay with everyone, I thought that's what I would do. And I was inspired because I believe it's in like 3 or 4 days is the United States Navy's 250th anniversary, right? Which is pretty cool. Yep. Now, I always ask, before I tell the following story, are there any vets here? If there's so, raise your hand. Awesome. Thank you for your service, all of you. So you should appreciate this story. And so when I was a young man, I didn't have quite the direction that I do today. And I was trying to sort of find my way in the world. And I decided that I needed to join the military. That's how I felt. I felt that I needed discipline. I needed to just, go through that experience. I thought it was critical for me. So did my family and everyone around me. And so I turned 18 and I decided I was just going to go join the military. And this was obviously before college, clearly before law school. And but I didn't know what branch I wanted to join. And so I'm from the Harrisburg area. I grew up here in central PA. And so I'm not sure if there's anyone here from Harrisburg, but do you remember the Point Mall? Anyone remember the Point Mall? All right, so at the Point Mall, there used to be all the branches were on the second floor. And you would walk from branch to branch. You were kind of like shopping for your life, you know? And you would go service to service, and you'd stop. So you first would go to the Army, I remember. I talked to the Army recruiter. Wonderful conversation. Army's fantastic. But I kind of just went through to the next one. Talked to the Coast Guard, again, great meeting. Talked to the Air Force. And the next one I landed upon was the Marines. And so I'm sure, is there a Marine vet in here? Oh, great. So we can actually, well, this is being recorded, so I have to be careful. So, but so I got to the Marine recruiter, and the guy was like really intimidating. And I'm looking at him, and he, was kind of like, not aggressive, but he was intimidating. He was a big guy. And I often tell this story because, my dad, who I love very dearly, was a Marine before he became a school teacher. And so again, if they're watching this at some point, love them with all my heart. But at that point in time, I was looking for something different in this world, And so I looked at the recruiter, he looked at me, he reminded me of my dad, and I went right past him. And I got to the Navy recruiter, and I remember this like it was yesterday. This was in 1994, and the Navy recruiter got out like this big booklet of pictures. It wasn't like on a phone, there weren't cell phones. It was actual photographs, and you're kind of going through it, and it was pictures of what life was like in the Navy. And so there was people playing like beach volleyball and like doing all this stuff, and I'm like, military, beach volleyball, all things, I'm in, let's go. And so I signed up, and I don't think I ever played beach volleyball one time. I really don't. I was deployed all throughout the world. So I was on a small ship, a guided missile frigate, and since it has become decommissioned, I was an E1, so that means like I was literally the lowest rank that exists. I was the lowest rank on my entire ship, which meant I had to swab decks and ship paint and do like that type of enlisted work. It was what I did. And so, we were deployed to the Persian Gulf for what was called Desert Strike. That was during the time period when Saddam Hussein kicked the weapons inspectors out. And so I was there with the Carl Vinson Battle Group, and I spent a lot of time in Central and South America doing counter-drug operations. And so for 4 years of active duty, changed my entire life. And I came home, and like I said, I didn't start college yet. I had no idea what I was going to do still, right, coming back from deployment. And so I ended up getting a job at UPS. So I started Hack. I worked at UPS every night for all 4 years of my undergrad at 19th and Paxton Street, if those of you are familiar with the UPS hub in Harrisburg. And then I ended up getting my degree, and then I worked at UPS during the day, and I went to law school at night. So I was at UPS for 8 years. And I tell you that because some of the stuff we're going to talk about tonight, it's a direct result of the experiences that I had in the United States Navy and working at UPS. And so I met my wife at the very end of law school. She's from Sri Lanka, but she grew up in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and she was going to law school in New York. I somehow managed to convince her to move to central Pennsylvania. This was like 18 years ago. She cried for 18 years. And I think a couple days ago, she finally accepted it. So, so we have a son, a young son. I have one, he's 10. And my family is the most important thing in my entire world. It's everything to me. And so I got a job as a prosecutor in York County. And that's how I ended up in York. York at that time period was a very, very busy DA's office. I think we may have been the third highest criminal caseload in the entire state. It was Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, and then York. And one of the main reasons for that is because York being directly north geographically of Baltimore, Interstate 83 is a wonderful thing. It does a lot of great stuff for us. It also provides an avenue for people to bring not good stuff up to Pennsylvania. And so that was challenging. The opioid epidemic ravaged York County, and just like it did all throughout Pennsylvania. And so I spent the vast majority of my career in a courtroom doing jury trials, from everything from low-level DUIs all the way up through capital cases, gang murders, domestic violence murders, attempted murders of police officers, really anything you could think of, murder of children. And so, I lived in the courtroom, and that's what I did. And through that experience, I recognized the critical nature of holding people accountable. You have to have accountability. And so there are bad people that commit horrific crimes that need to go to jail, period. I also recognized at the same time that there were a lot of people that were in the throes of addiction. The throes of addiction, that weren't committing crimes, that were just addicted, and maybe, eventually they would step up, they'd start getting retail thefts. You guys, I'm sure everyone in here knows that path. You've seen it through your employment or your companies. And we realized that we had to do something to stop those crimes from happening. So we dug in on the substance abuse side, worked together, started a nonprofit. At the same time, went after traffickers, held them accountable. We have a mental health crisis in Pennsylvania, so we did the same thing there. And the third part of this is reentry. And so, 95% of everyone that goes to jail is coming back out. And when they come out, what do we want them to do? I want them to be employed. And I go back to my time, I think about my time at UPS. I worked with a lot of individuals who were on either probation, parole, work release, that worked unbelievably hard. And I will never forget how amazing it was to see the power when someone realizes that through a job, they have the ability to create agency for themselves and control their lives. Things that they may not have ever had happen to them before. And I never forgot that. And so we collectively came together and we did everything we could to find ways to get people jobs and have them be employed when they came out of prison. And the reason for that, the data is overwhelming that when someone has a career job after they've been incarcerated, the odds of them committing more crimes goes down drastically. And when you look at crime as a whole, that I know impacts every single one of your businesses, we discovered that the way to decrease crime in communities is through what I call accountability and redemption. You have to hold people accountable. You absolutely must do that. You can't give people free passes. There has to be something that occurs as a result of their criminal behavior. At the same time, once that's done, we want to embrace redemption so that those individuals don't repeatedly come back over and over and over again. When you look at the mental health situation in Pennsylvania, our prisons really have become the de facto mental health provider in a lot of ways in the state. And that is super bad for a million different reasons. And when you look going back to crime, some of the worst crimes that have occurred, I've seen these happen as a prosecutor, where maybe someone went into a grocery store or a convenience store and committed some horrific act. A lot of times you can look at that individual, walk back through their life, and you'll find at some point they had a mental health crisis and they connected with the criminal justice system, and there was never any opportunity for them to have any type of mental health treatment. And so they served their time, they came out, and they were even worse when they came out, even worse, which obviously drastically increases the level of violence in the crimes that they're committing after they come out of prison. And so with that being said, I'm very excited because yesterday we actually just kicked off the first part of what we call Law Enforcement Treatment Initiative, and this is with regard to mental health. And that was in 4 counties in sort of northeastern Pennsylvania. And so those are the type of things that we know work. It is unbelievably important. So with that being said, I wanted to explain that to you to the best I could very quickly, and that was a quick version, I promise you, about my background, what brought me here. The reality is, I ran for Attorney General because of my belief that if communities aren't safe, literally nothing else matters. Nothing else matters. When you look at, my poor son, like I think about him, I mean, my wife's a former prosecutor. I mean, we're pretty close to just locking him in the basement and just like Encino Man, seeing him pop up, for those of you that remember that movie. If any of you do, I don't know, do you? There's a few. We all aged each other. It's all good. And so, but I'm deathly afraid of the world that he has to grow up in. And in particular, when you look at everything from the mental health aspect of all of this, I mean, whenever a kid connects to the internet, they are immediately targeted in most instances by people trying to get to them. And that's not for a dramatic flair, that is an absolute truth. When they connect to a gaming system with the advent of AI, and again, I always tell people technology is an amazing, beautiful, wonderful thing. It's changed our lives. I'm so happy for it. But like any other tool, it can be very harmful if it's not handled correctly. And so with the advent of AI, it's created this whole just system where children are really, becoming targets of predators relentlessly online. It's a huge part of the work we do in the Attorney General's office. Now, I personally think that the vast majority of the work that I do impacts you directly. And in particular, after I was elected, we sat down and we put together a list of priorities. And these priorities, again, a lot of these are based on my experience. You view the world through the lens of your experiences. And I had them put on a little card, actually, and I passed them out to my entire office. So everybody has one of these. I just think it's cool. That's why I did it. I mean, and so looking at my priorities here, to start right off the bat, number one, mental health. Clearly, if we don't address the mental health crisis, I mean, that drives crime up. That impacts every single one of you every day. Human trafficking ties directly into organized retail theft. Thank you, Alex, for bringing that up. That is unbelievably important. What we have discovered, and I have made organized retail theft one of our key missions in this office, and what people don't understand until they dive into it is what organized retail theft actually is. This isn't some random person coming into a store to get a little bit of whatever to go get through the next whatever. Organized retail theft is a concerted, criminal, collaborative activity that is oftentimes ran by very, very sophisticated criminal organizations. And oftentimes, and I actually prosecuted one of these cases when I was in the DA's office, you have very, very bad actors who make a lot of money off this, and the people they send in to do their dirty work are oftentimes people with severe mental health issues, people that are in the throes of addiction, and they prey upon these individuals and put them in a position where whoever the top is making all the money, and they're using all these people to get there. I personally think it's repulsive and despicable. And in addition to that, the human trafficking component is tied directly into that. Because oftentimes, in a lot of the cases we see, people that are being used in these organized retail theft rings are also being trafficked, which is unbelievably bad. And to add on to that, a lot of times the same criminal actors that are doing this and are compelling people to do this are also clearly tied into other criminal organizations, to include large-scale drug traffickers. And so with that being said, I think that aggressively investigating and prosecuting organized retail theft is important not only for the actual sole crime of retail theft by itself, but I truly believe it's a window into a lot of other criminal actors. And if we continue to hold them accountable, then what that will do is really make all of our communities safer. I think it's super important. And I know that how important this organization was in getting that bill passed. And so I thank anyone who was a part of getting that done. I'm beyond grateful, because we can't do our job if we do not have the tools to do it. A couple examples I have from recently with regard to organized retail theft was up to this point. So we've opened more than 65 investigations of organized retail enterprises. So that's not 65 people breaking in. Those are 65 organizations that are moving people to do what you all are seeing done. And we now have the tools to prosecute these as a felony of the first degree when the stolen goods exceed $50,000, which happens very easily in almost all of these cases. And it's not just about the stolen goods themselves, it's about the violence that comes with it as well. Some of these instances, these smash and grabs, have resulted in horrific violence, not just to the person working in the store, but to people who are in the store shopping, which is beyond unacceptable. And it goes back to, if communities aren't safe, literally nothing else matters. We had a case, and this was the 5th Street crew, and this is in Philadelphia, and I don't know if any of you saw this in the news or not, but they committed approximately 49 retail theft robbery incidents at multiple retailers, to include Snipes, Lululemon, Nike, Dick's Sporting Goods, and Kohl's. These crimes happened through Montgomery, Philadelphia, Bucks County, and New Jersey over the course of February of 24 through May of 25. And so it was the same thing you see in a lot of these videos, where you have the crew, they smash into the store, they grab everything humanly possible, and they run out and get out of there. In fact, this group very viciously assaulted an employee at one of the stores in Philadelphia when he attempted to intervene in the theft. And so we took that entire organization out. They've been arrested, they're being prosecuted, and we're going to hold them to the fullest extent of the law. The largest enterprise we took down so far was titled Operation Philly Flowers. I don't know if any of you saw this one. They operated in and around southeastern Pennsylvania, and we worked with the Pennsylvania State Police and TJX Company's loss prevention officers to identify over 50 members of this organization. And they were engaged in theft and fraudulent return schemes at TJ Maxx and Home Goods. And the amount they stole during the course of a very short period of time was around $850,000. These are examples concentrated in southeastern Pennsylvania, but we have investigations right now in 46 of the 67 counties in Pennsylvania. We have seen individuals take full trucks, like 18-wheelers. We've seen it all. And so I just want to let you know how important that is to me, to hold these actors responsible and to utilize the powers that we have. It's unbelievably important. So I spoke about reentry earlier and the critical nature of that. If any of you, I don't know how many of you even think about reentry or hiring reentrants. Just think about it. That's all I ask. There are a lot of people out there that make outstanding employees. And if anyone has any suggestions about things we can do here in Pennsylvania to make it more, to put you in a position where you would be more likely to hire reentrants, please let us know. I just think it's honestly the key to victory. When you can decrease the recidivism for people coming home from prison, it saves taxpayers millions of dollars. It saves retail organizations from having things stolen from you. It keeps families together. It's just all good. It's all good. And so I just wanted to put that out there. In addition to that, part of the many things in my role, and am I good on time? Okay, so I want to share a couple more points real quick. The remaining priorities I have, and you'll see these cross over in a lot of ways with some of the work you do, is elder abuse, senior scams. A whole big component of that involves a lot of times people coming into stores, grocery stores, and getting gift cards and things of that nature. The amount of people getting scammed right now, and this isn't just like, again, this isn't like prosecutor talk, like this is legit from morning to night, 24/7. And again, with AI-powered algorithms, like the bad guys are getting connected even faster to people that they can easily take advantage of. God willing, we all get to that age. We all shouldn't have to worry about this. And technology is moving very fast, so that's a very scary thing. Gun violence. My God, that ties directly into what we see with some of the organized retail theft cases. And so we have a gun violence task force. We do everything we can to be supportive. We collaborate with police departments all throughout Pennsylvania, and we fight very, very hard to remove illegal guns, crime guns from the street, and hold gun traffickers and straw purchasers accountable. At the same time, then, protecting children is a huge priority for a million obvious reasons. Consumer protection is a big part of what we do. We have a National Association of Attorneys General, and I've been placed as co-chair of the National Consumer Protection Committee That's a bipartisan committee, so it's myself and the Illinois Attorney General, where we collaborate on a lot of issues to include clearly consumer protection, healthcare accessibility, illegal drug use, and defending the rule of law. And I want to say a point I want to make, and I know, again, this ties into maybe issues with your employees, maybe just dependent upon where your stores might be located. But the opioid epidemic is thriving. And we now have fentanyl, which, as many of you know, is way more powerful than what heroin ever was. It's in everything. Kids are, they have pill presses and they're making pills and they're just sharing pills with each other. When I was a kid, if you made a mistake, you might have a hangover for a day. And again, as always, my caveat is I'm not saying that happened. But in today's world, a mistake literally could equal death. And again, that's not hyperbole. That is an absolute fact. We have seen it. I've seen it my whole career as a prosecutor. And so the room for error is so small. And so to fight for children, a huge part of that is making sure we attack the supply of these drugs. At the same time, it's very important that we identify drugs or products that might be sold by different individuals that are out in the open that may or may not hurt children. And so that's a very important part of what we do. We are constantly looking to see if there's anything out there that's being purported as being legal that actually may be illegal and that may be hurting or killing children. And so I've made it my mission, my office's mission, to do everything we can to look for those issues when they come up and do what we can to remove those products to make sure that kids are safe. So I know I threw a lot out there at you, and I also know that, oftentimes when I talk about the work of this office, it can be kind of half depressing a little bit, because of what's going on with what we have to deal with every day. But there's a lot of great things happening. And I cannot tell you, honestly, and I'll just say this, how grateful I am to be in this position. I think every day is a blessing. I mean, I think about my son every day as I do my job. And, people in your positions that are in your association are some of the most important parts of this entire effort. And I say that because you are employers, right? You're not just employers, but you're selling some of the most important things that exist in our society, which is what keeps us going, right? And I say that because I want to thank you. I mean, I know so many, and they wouldn't want me to say their names out loud, but I see many companies on that board back there that are some of the most philanthropically active people that I've ever seen. And that's in the area of child abuse, that's in the area of mental health, that's in the area of the opioid epidemic, and in so many other places. And so, I want to thank all of you for the work that you do every day. This association is so important, and I look forward to continuing to work with you into the future and do everything we can together to make sure that our community is safe, because like I always say, if our community is not safe, literally nothing else matters. So thank you so much.